Hi, Coda Saints. Beth and I are back from our vacation into the North Woods. I don't want to rub it in, but it was delightful. We were up there on the shore of Long Lake, just outside of Eagle River in Three Lakes, Wisconsin, and it was glorious. So many mornings we had to put a fire in the fireplace because we woke up in the 40s. And then in the afternoons, it would be in the 70s. We could go water skiing. It was just amazing. It was just Beth and I in a little cabin by the lake. And it was a glorious time away while our girls were at camp. Then we brought them home. We've taken May and we have put her at Anderson University, where she's a freshman. We're wondering, just like everybody else is wondering, how long that's going to last with the implications of the COVID, the virus. But she's there, and we're back home, and we're sort of getting our feet back under us. And I want to just give you the update on where we are on public worship for Church of the Apostles. On Monday night this week, the reopening committee, which the vestry had appointed, met and discussed where we would go next. Then on Tuesday night, the vestry met and approved a plan for moving forward in worship. That is a plan that's eventually going to result in us being gathered back here in the nave when we gather for worship. But that's still an undetermined time. But what's coming next is that the small group gatherings that we have been doing since the first Sunday in July, and by the way, if you have not participated in one of those yet, you really ought to. They are delightful. They're small groups, and so we have morning prayer together. That takes about 25 or 30 minutes. But then the report I hear, what we've experienced, and the report I hear from every group is that folks sit around and they get to know each other and they have fellowship together and talk and laugh and catch up with each other, sort of life on life in ways that are really meaningful, and that the small size of the group really facilitates in a way that even our larger gatherings on Sundays don't. So anyway, this is a plug. If you haven't yet signed up for one of those, please do. But the vestry on Tuesday night approved a plan. Tuesday night was just last night. Approved a plan that we're going to double the size of those groups. So instead of being groups of 10 to 12, they're now going to be groups of 20 to 25. So that's the first step. We're going to enlarge those groups. So we'll have fewer of them meeting around the city, but they'll be larger, a chance to see more people. They'll continue to rotate on a weekly basis so that you'll get to know more and more folks. That's the immediate thing. As of this coming Sunday, those groups, instead of being 10 to 12 people, will be 20 to 25 people. Then the vestry also approved that upon approval of the plan by our bishops, which is necessary, where we are in this decision-making process is we're not allowed just to make decisions for ourselves. The rector and the vestry have to agree together and submit a plan to the bishops as a resolution of the vestry and rector to be approved by the bishops. So that process has to unfold. But in a few weeks, we plan to those groups of 20 to 25 to add the celebration of communion as part of those services. So we're hoping that by Sunday, September 13th, maybe Sunday, September the 20th at the latest. There's a lot of logistical planning and some equipment and some things that we need to buy in order to make that stuff happen. But very soon, those small groups will include sharing of communion together. And I don't know about you, but I am incredibly excited by that. I have been, and lots of people, I've had lots of conversations with a lot of people about this. I have been really hesitant to try to do communion under the restrictions that were placed on us by our bishops, because I think it really violates the sense of communion. I've seen lots of clergy around other churches do things that I just don't think are good approaches to giving, receiving communion. So my motto has been that we weren't going to have communion again until we could have communion. And I think that we have a plan in place that will be approved by our bishops where we can have communion. It'll be in both kinds, the bread and wine. The wine will be intincted on the wafer, so we won't be sharing a common cup in this season. But it'll be communion in both kinds, and it'll be an opportunity for those small groups to have that communion fellowship together, which would then be the next step on the way to gathering those groups, again in a larger gathering, up to 50, here in the nave when we get the clearance for that. So we're moving forward. We're moving towards the day that we're going to gather together here in our parish that we all miss and that we all love. I know I do. I hate not being here on Sunday mornings. I hate not getting to see everybody on Sunday mornings. I hate the sense of sort of falling away from each other and separateness that has been. But I have loved the little small group gatherings of 10 to 12. I'm really looking forward to the larger gatherings, and I'm really looking forward to having communion together in those gatherings again before we get back into this space. So we're working on that. We're moving forward. Now, of course, we're in a season where kids are going back to school, universities, colleges are filling up, and we're keeping an eye on what is happening there and what's happening in other churches that have begun meeting indoors. One of the things that I have seen as I have kept an eye out around the church is churches that have started back. Some of them have had to suspend public worship again. I think our plan, although it's slow and cautious, is continuously progressive towards being able, when we get back here, to be able to stay here. That's what we're working towards. So it has been slow, it's been the cautious approach, but the vestry and I have thought that that was the best way forward for us and also in our worship to protect the integrity of the Eucharist. So that's what's coming. This coming Sunday, those gatherings will be larger. In a few weeks, we'll add communion. And then we hope in a few weeks after that, we'll be able to double again the size of the groups and have them here at church, all depending on what we see going on in the larger community with COVID-19. Here's one other thing I want to mention, and that is many of you have been praying for Holly Pope. Holly is still in Texas. She is still undergoing treatment for her cancer. Things are better. She is trying to get herself into the position where she can be in the best health that she can be in with as much of the good effects of chemotherapy on the tumor that she has so that she can undergo a stem cell transplant. They're in Texas. Her parents are taking care of their kids. Please keep them in your prayers. This is a really important time for them and in their lives. The news is as good as it can be in a difficult situation. We give thanks to God for that. But we keep the Pope family in our prayers, and especially Holly in this season of her life. So continue to pray for Holly. Continue to pray for Robert Turner, who's in the hospital with pneumonia. We've been told it's not COVID-related, which is excellent news. And he might get out in the next few days. So continue to pray for Robert Turner as well. Continue to pray for our folks who are on the front lines. Early on, we were sending out names every week. Look up those lists of names and pray for them. One of the things that I've heard is that in the hospitals, particularly, the fatigue that's setting in on doctors and nurses after this season of treating patients with COVID is just really overwhelming. So our friends who are on those front lines are tired and exhausted. They've been working very hard at great risk to themselves. Please keep them in your prayers as well. So hopefully this Sunday I get to see you at one of our small gatherings. If you haven't yet, please sign up and participate. Thanks very much. It's good to talk to you.